Friday and welcome back to Science with Mr. T. I am so glad you could join us today. And as our end of the summer slash celebration themed week, we are going to make something super fun and gooey that you can play with. So I've already taken out my watch. If you're wearing any like other bracelets or anything that you don't want to get dirty, go ahead and take those off because we are going to be having a bunch of fun and playing with our hands today. Um, so, for this activity, you are going to need a big bowl, not necessarily something this big, but the bigger that it is, the more place that you have to actually play and have some fun. You will need cornstarch. You will need about 2 cups of cornstarch. You will need about a cup of water. You don't necessarily need a disposable cup. I just brought this one. Food coloring is optional. Any color that you have will work. And you will need a measuring cup to measure out a cup. So make sure you ask your parents before you go ahead and grab some cornstarch or a measuring cup or even a bowl. But let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, you will want to make sure that your bowl is dry and doesn't already have some sort of like water or liquid in it because we don't want the cornstarch to already have moisture before we start this activity. So, clean bowl, dry bowl. I am going to take my cornstarch and take out 2 cups of cornstarch. So, I'm just going to open this up. Ooh, I guess it is a new container. So, we will pop open this. Now we have powder everywhere. Oh, another thing to remember. While you are doing this activity, it can get a little messy, so make sure to put down some sort of paper towel or towel at the bottom of your workstation. So for me, it's this little table. And I am going to grab a cup, and we are going to pour out 2 cups. So this is going to be my first cup. Got powder flying everywhere. There we are. That is 1 cup right there. Put it right in. We're going to do that with 1 more cup. And there we go. That is our 2 cups, and I will show it to you what it looks like just in a second. Once I can get all cornstarch out of here. Okay. I'm going to close my container. Be careful. We don't want it to tip over and fall. I'm going to close that and put that aside. So that's what my bowl looks like so far. So I want y'all to take some time to just play with it and feel what the consistency of cornstarch feels like. It's very interesting. It doesn't feel like any other kind of powder. It doesn't quite feel like sand. It's kind of light, like whipped cream-ish. What do y'all think? What do you think the consistency feels like? Go ahead and drop it in the comments. I would love to hear what you think this kind of feels like, because I think it definitely feels a little different than water per se, but it also feels, excuse me, not quite like any other powder. So just take a few minutes to get your hands in there and feel the consistency of it. Like, what happens when I try to crumble it together? It's still kind of crumbly, but some of it does stick together. It's almost like a little wispy. It makes kind of funny noises. So just observe what that kind of feels like and enjoy it. Enjoy feeling these different things. So it's kind of like almost like a sensory activity in this nature. But we are going to get to the science of it, so it still is science. But yeah, once you've had a feel for it and gotten a chance to get in there and play with the powder and make little fingerprints like I did, hand prints rather, I'm going to go ahead and grab 1 cup of water, not a glass, an actual measured 1 cup of water, which I will pour in here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some water in here, which will be exactly measured for 1 cup. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. But y'all can go ahead and keep playing if you already have water handy to you, but I'm going to go grab it and I will be right back. And if you are planning on using food coloring, that will be part of our next step. So make sure to go ahead and grab it and hold on to it. I'm going to go grab some water. Be right back. Awesome, awesome. I am back with said measured water as to 1 cup. I'm going to put away this measuring cup because I don't really need it anymore. For those of you who are using food color today, you don't have to. It's completely optional, but if you have some handy and if your parents are okay with you using it, go ahead and grab some. It will add to our fun for today. I have blue, green, red, and yellow. So if you have any thoughts on which color I should use, go ahead and drop it in the comments. I am going to keep playing with my cornstarch for a few more minutes to see what y'all think, which color I should be using. But if y'all don't have any opinions, maybe we can mix food color, because you can see I'm wearing a very colorful tie-dye t-shirt for today, because today's all about celebration. We have made it through this summer, and we are so excited to go back to school if we haven't already, and just make a really great school year. So, I am going to do something fun. I'm going to take my red food color and mix it with my blue food color. So, I'm just going to get my hand out of all this cornstarch and grab some of that blue food coloring. So for this step, you're going to be where are my words? You are going to be putting food coloring inside your water if you choose to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 drops of blue in my water. And since I wanted to do something fun and mix some colors, I'm going to grab red and put it in there. Again, you don't have to be mixing colors. You don't even need food coloring, but colors are always fun. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 drop, 2 drops of red food coloring. I'm going to cover that and set my food coloring aside. And for those of y'all who want to look what my food coloring looks like, my water looks a little funky, and in the process of trying to show y'all, I dropped some already in here. So the water's trying to jump ahead. Our next step really is slowly pouring in some water into your cornstarch. The key is to not pour it in all together. You want to kind of make it as if it was dough where you slowly add water to it. So my color is now all purpley. I know you can't really see it through the cup because it's not clear. But I added red and blue food coloring, so it is a little purpley. But what you want to do is slowly pour some water in there. I already accidentally poured some in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and start mixing it slowly. And just notice how it starts to become more like solidy, crumbly in texture. But we're going to go ahead and just slowly keep adding just a teensy bit of water to this mixture, and just keep mixing it and just feel how that feels. Like I said, it becomes like tiny little like marblesy almost, but if you like kind of play with it more, it like crumbles to become powder again. So it's a very interesting texture. It's not like oopy gooey just yet, but we are definitely gonna get close to that. So yeah, just slowly keep pouring your water. Remember to not pour it all together or too quickly. If you have added food coloring to it, you will also notice that the color of your cornstarch is ever so slightly changing with you adding your colored water to it. So if y'all use any fun colors, go ahead and add that in the comments. I want to see and hear what y'all are doing and how much fun you're having with this experiment. So I'm slowly going to keep adding water, and as I add water, you might be able to notice that the color of this water is purple. So So yes, ooh, and if you add a little bit more water, you can see it becomes like a little like goopy goop just in the area where it is. So like if I'm holding on to this, watch as this is dripping and dropping everywhere. If you are using a slightly smaller bowl, make sure to try to keep your mess within the bowl and your science within the bowl. But if you are using a small bowl, again, there's paper towels or towels will be definitely useful to keep our science experiment contained. So I'm just going to keep adding to it and mixing it. And you can see it kind of is making this like goopy-ish consistency, like kind of like slime in areas where the cornstarch is mixing. So yeah, the key really is slowly keep adding and mixing as if you were making dough. It will get a little crumbly, it will get a little hard, it will get a little goopy. It will pretty much be all those things almost all at once. So just keep adding your liquid and mixing it. And for those of you who aren't using colored water, it really is water that you're adding to your cornstarch as you keep mixing it. And we want to include all the cornstarch, so the ones that are in the corner that are still haven't been touched by water. Make sure you kind of like mix it to the middle. Here, let me see if I can get a better view for y'all. So if you can see, ooh, it's a little too white to actually be able to see, but in the middle is where pretty much all my goopy goo is going, but on the side I still have some cornstarch that hasn't been touched by water, so I'm just going to try to like make this swooping kind of motion where I kind of like swoop it in and bring it to the center where I can add more water and mix it in. So just keep doing the thing where you slowly add water and keep mixing it. So I'm just going to keep mixing. And essentially you want to get it to a consistency where if I roll it in my hand as a ball, it will be a ball, but if I stop rolling it, it would still become goo. So if you can see, this is still way too cornstarchy, and I haven't gotten to that consistency just yet. So I want y'all to keep mixing until you get to that consistency. So I will repeat again shortly the test that you would have to do to know whether or not your mixture is at that consistency just yet. So basically you want to be able to roll your little mixture that you have going in a ball, and when it is in a ball and you're holding it in your hand and you stop rolling it, it starts like almost melting away. So at that point you'll have kind of like a slimy-ish consistency. Yeah, so let me point the camera down a little bit so you can see my bowl a little bit more. So I'm nowhere near that consistency, but right now I kind of have like these chunks going. Let's see. So it's kind of like this. They're kind of like little balls, rocks, pebbles, something along those lines. And I'm going to tilt the camera a little bit more. And basically just keep adding your water or your colored water or whatever you have going there. And just mixing, mixing, mixing. Also, if it's easier, you can kind of like make a part of your dough into the consistency that we need and then try to get the other part of the dough there. You don't have to get all of it at once to be the proper consistency. So as you can see, it's pretty slimy and it's honestly just pretty fun to play with. And we will get into the science part of it very soon once we get it to the consistency that we like it to be. So just keep rolling and mixing and doing what you gotta do. Okay, so this little piece of my, I guess I'll call it mixture dough, or non-Newton mixture, which is its scientific name. has gotten to the part where it's right where the mixture needs to be. So for instance, if I'm rolling it like this, as if I were making a small little ball, it rolls. It rolls as if it were some kind of dough, as if it was meant to be in this state. But watch what happens when I stop rolling. Look at that. Keep watching. So it's like slowly almost feeling like it's melting into my hand. And as you will notice, it really is melting and dripping. So yeah, this is the kind of consistency that you want your liquid to be at, or your mixture. And it might be hard to get the whole, as you can see, it's like still dripping and oozing, it's doing its thing. It's just so great to watch it. So fun. So if you haven't gotten your whole bowl to that consistency just yet, that's all right. I've only really got one part of my dough there too, so you can keep mixing, or if you'd like, you could just set aside a small piece and test it out, and if you think it works well, you can just do the rest of this activity with that piece. Or if not, you can keep mixing. So I have a little bit of water left in here, so I'm just going to keep mixing until I can get the rest of my mixture, dough, whatever you want to call it, to that consistency. So it's a very, while we're here, we'll talk a little science as we mix. So there's a reason why cornstarch is behaving this way with water. It almost is like the cornstarch is suspended in the water. It's not really mixed into it. Like, for instance, if you mix salt and water, the salt dissolves into the water, right? But when we do it with cornstarch, it really isn't dissolving. It's being suspended in it, which makes it act in this way, which is really interesting because it can be a solid and a liquid. It acts like both. It doesn't follow the rules that normal liquids follow. So Sir Isaac Newton was very intrigued by this, and he called it, he essentially said that liquids flow at a certain rate. They're supposed to act a certain way. Like if you can't really like hold a liquid in a fist, it'll just slip away. Similarly, that's pretty much how every liquid typically acts or reacts. But there was this liquid that they found, which is exactly what we're playing with right now, cornstarch and water, that didn't act like these other liquids. It acted like a solid at times. Like you saw when I rolled it into a ball, it acted like it was a solid and it was not going anywhere. But at times it also acted like almost it was a liquid, the way it just like melted sort of in my hand. So hence this has been called a non-Newton liquid, which essentially means that it isn't following typical rules that we would say apply to liquids. So it's pretty interesting. So as I just roll this little thing again, I will show y'all what I was talking about. So it's acting like a solid right now. But as soon as I let it melt away, it melts away. So let's get to the second part of this activity. Now that you have had a chance to hopefully get your liquid to this consistency where it's kind of like a solid, but it also is kind of gooey, actually I have a teensy bit of water left, so, and I know there's a little part in my bowl that isn't quite to the right consistency just yet, so I'm going to go ahead and pour it in there and mix that all in till I get a whole bowl full of this cornstarch watery goo, which Dr. Seuss also called oobleck in one of his books, and hence the name has kind of stuck around. So I almost have a bowl full of this fun goo to play in. But more than playing, we are also going to um, test what it is like um, with our science experiment. So now I have a bowl full of this, and I will see if I can try to like show y'all what it looks like. Hopefully the color will help. It's like a purplish tingy liquid that, see, when I pull it or move it down this direction, you can see it's kind of liquidy, whereas when it's like all just set together, it's kind of acting like a solid. So our test is we are going to take one finger, any finger, and just poke our liquid or a mixture and see what happens. What do y'all notice? Let's try that one more time. Just take a finger and poke your little mixture of goo over there. What did y'all notice? Let me see if I can tilt this a little bit and try to do it for you. So when I poke it, my finger kind of like seeps in as if it would if I tried to like poke water, and then I bring it back up. And it acts like a little liquid, like it's just acting like a liquid. So it's like letting me poke it, and then it just, once I move away my finger, it refills that space. So if you take a cup of water, and let's imagine we had some water in it, and I poked my finger in it, my finger would just be able to go to the bottom of the cup easily and be able to come right out, and the water would still fill back up its space. It would just do its thing. So similarly, when I poked this liquid, I should call it a mixture rather, or this goo, when I poked this goo, it acted like it was a liquid. But when I punched this goo, or kind of like try to make like a hand imprint in it, so I'm gonna try to do that, and now it's like acting like as if it's like a hard surface, like it won't let me pass through. So if your bowl is big enough, you are more than free to do this. You can gently make a fist and gently punch your liquid. Okay, let's try that one more time. Take your fist and gently punch the liquid. Does it let you go through? What happened? I don't even have any liquid on my hands. How'd that happen? Look at that. It like won't let me go through the liquid because now it's acting like a solid. So for instance, if you have a book or a cabinet or closet, anything near you, if you gently just punch it, so for instance my hand, I'm going to use my hand as my solid for now, and if I gently just punch it, my fist has nowhere to go, right? Like it's not like it's like a liquid where it can just go through and then come back out. It's a solid, there's nowhere to go. So similarly, now our goo is acting like a solid. It's a really silly goo because it acts like a liquid and a solid. And it is also very cool, and the reason behind that, like I mentioned earlier, is because the cornstarch is suspended in the liquid. So if you give it some time to just sit outside, just let your cornstarch and water mixture, this goo that you've just made, let it sit for maybe like about an hour or so, you will notice that the cornstarch will start to settle. And it settles because it's suspended. It's suspended in the water. So, for instance, if you've watched any of those fun, I guess like crime or like Mission Impossible kind of movies where people suspend themselves in the air, they're not really mixing with the air. They're just kind of like hanging from the air. So that's kind of how cornstarch is. It's just hanging in the air right now. So I hope that y'all had some fun playing with this goo and learning about why it's so fascinating and how it can act both as a liquid and a solid. A few cleanup tips. Please do not, I repeat, do not put this liquid down your drain. So when you are done playing with it, if you want to play for a little bit more, that is perfectly okay. But remember, you are not going to put this down the drain. You have a couple of options. You can throw it in with the trash. Make sure you ask your parents before you do so. If you have some sort of garden outside, where you could let it, where you could dispose of it. That is okay too, as long as your parents are okay with that. So make sure to check with them. If you do put it down your drain, it will just become like clumpy, and you can have other like plumbing issues from it. So please remember, do not put it down your drain. Make sure you ask your parents if they would choose to dispose of it in the trash, or if you would like to put it out in some sort of garden if you have that available to you, or your backyard or whatever. But I hope y'all had a great time. And we have two more sessions, as you know, the 3 p.m. and the 5 p.m. So be sure to join those. And if you are about to go back to school soon, good luck with that. We know you're going to do amazing. And if you've already started school, great going. Keep up the good work. We believe in you, and we are going to have some pre-recorded videos that are going to be posted for y'all during the school year to check out. So definitely keep following us, keep checking out the new things that we have for y'all. But this is a wrap on Science with Miss Jyoti. Have a great rest of your day and your weekend. It was lovely teaching with y'all and learning with y'all, because there's always something to learn when you teach. But yeah, have a great Friday. Bye, y'all.